Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is John Miller. I'm the Managing Director here at the Manufacturers Alliance for our operations communities. Thank you for joining us today for the Securing and Simplifying Hybrid Cloud Environments webinar. For those who are new to the Manufacturers Alliance, we're a nonprofit membership organization supporting the manufacturing community since 1933, pardon me. We help manufacturing leaders make smarter business decisions through best practices, benchmarking, case studies, and through professional development events like this one. I'll cover a few logistics before we get started. Attendees are on mute, but you do have the opportunity to type in questions throughout today's sessions using the Q&A tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We are offering 1 CPE credit today in the field study of information technology. To be eligible you need to participate in the polls launched throughout today's webinar and the survey that will pop up on your browser upon exiting webinar. Also, we will be recording this webinar and we will provide a link to the recording tomorrow. At this point, I'd like to turn it over and thank A10 Networks for sponsoring today. A10 Networks provides security and infrastructure solutions for on-premises, hybrid cloud, and edge cloud environments. Today, you'll hear from Akalish Dwan, Senior Director of Product Marketing and Analyst Relations with A10 Networks, who has over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity. Akilish, thank you for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you to get us started.
All right, thank you so much, and good morning, good afternoon for everybody on the call. Thank you for having us over and joining and giving your time. Today, we are going to be just touching on a very important topic of hybrid cloud environments. This is an initiative that is across all different industries, obviously including the manufacturing customers that we talk to. One of the things that we hear from a lot of our manufacturing friends is how do I really go about drawing a strategy on the cloud, for the cloud? And how do I really kind of help my applications run seamlessly? How do I make sure that I am not burdening my IT for managing these hybrid cloud environments? So today we're going to just take a look on some of the suggestions, some of the recommendations that we have gathered based on the conversations with a lot of our customers. So in the agenda, we'll obviously start with what is going on in the industry today, specifically manufacturing industry, on the adoption of cloud. And we'll talk about what are some of the pros and cons, what should be the approaches of really deploying and adopting the cloud model, along with some customer stories. And then we're going to just quickly touch on, talking about applications that we have running in our hybrid environments. How do we really think about, or how should we really think about protecting these applications from any external threats? And then in the end, we'll definitely open up for Q&A. So we hope to hear from some of you if you have any questions, and we can have a discussions after the presentation. So, what is going on in the industry, right? Obviously, we all know cloud is critical, right? Cloud is the center of a lot of our executive decisions. Executives have KPIs and initiatives that they want to move to cloud in order to either improve their IT or improve the productivity of employees, reduce the cost, and so on and so forth. However, obviously, when our customers have moved to cloud, a lot of this is not as simple as it sounds. So what are some of the things that we will talk about, some of the things that we can do to make it seamless? So while cloud adoption is critical, we need to be just wary of how and when and what to move to cloud, so that it doesn't really, escalates my cost or complexes my infrastructure and so on and so forth. While our applications have, a lot of our customers are looking at cloud first deployments of their applications. Obviously, we have heard about AI and how it is pushing the need to adopt the cloud even faster. A lot of the early stage cloud service providers have started building their own data centers on premises, but a lot of enterprises, manufacturing included, financial, healthcare, are looking at deploying their LLM models or AI models hosted in the cloud. And that is something that is really driving a lot of the projects that we talk to our customers about of implementing AI. Obviously, another perspective of cloud is simplifying the IT operations, right? This is something that we keep hearing from our customers of really, can you help me simplify my IT? It is very complex. I have multiple vendors, I have multiple solutions, and I don't have staff to manage all these products. So that is one other thing. And then obviously, as we are obviously moving into a more modern cyber era with AI and data everywhere, there is obviously an ever increasing risk of cyber threats. And if you look at some of the data that we captured from the entity data report, manufacturing is the top most attacked sector today. Obviously, as a lot of our manufacturing customers host critical infrastructure, have a lot of sensitive data that they in their applications, it is a little more attractive for attackers to go after customers in this space. So, how do we, before we get into the questions or simplification strategy, a poll, if you can answer that. A lot of good responses so far. All right. I think we've gotten some good responses. All right, let me just read some of the responses, right? Obviously, I think most of you have talked about cloud first, cloud adoption. I think that is very much in line with what we have heard from our customers. Consolidation of IT infrastructure, addressing cyber threats, and so on and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about how you should start thinking about consolidation and obviously improving the cloud adoption. All right, so I'm going to stop this poll. So let's move on to the complexity part. Now, as we are kind of obviously, a lot of you mentioned you are cloud first, but then choices become which cloud, and there are a multitude of options available. And a lot of customers are looking at deploying multiple cloud options in order to keep the cost low, or in order if they find one cloud more flexible or easy to integrate with, depending on your application requirements and the skill sets that you have, and so on and so forth. So most of the IT today, it has ended with multiple clouds, right? You have Oracle, you have Google Cloud, Azure, AWS, and then in addition to that, obviously a lot of customers still have on-prem with private hypervisors running on VMware infrastructure, or you have any hosted private clouds with third-party vendors, and so on and so forth. Now, when your users are accessing applications, now they'll go through all these third-party solutions. So if you are an Oracle or Google Cloud, AWS, they have their own application load balancers, for example. They have their own network load balancers, which only do load balancing for their cloud-specific applications or applications that are hosted on their cloud. And then you have private clouds or private infrastructure where you have your own either appliance-based or virtual load balancers deployed in your own on-premises. Now, obviously, imagine your IT is now forced to manage all these different load balancers or solutions that allow your applications to be available and perform better. But now they have to manage, not only manage them, they have to set up policies for every load balancer. They have to track the data from every load balancer and so on and so forth. So it does become a little bit complex in terms of managing, in terms of providing the support to your end users and so on and so forth. So and this not only causes the management issues, but right, if you look at some of the data that we have, if you don't have a good hybrid cloud strategy, you really end up getting into all these scenarios where improving your cloud environments, you can increase the benefits to your business, whether it's for productivity via operations, delivering applications to market faster, and eliminating security incidents before they happen. So while you have all these different clouds, having a good, strong strategy will really avoid these hassles where you are not able to service the business that you are um, in. And that can lead to loss of profits, as I mentioned. It can lead to a lot of security incidents because you're not able to manage the products properly. You can't really monitor the traffic in the way that you want to, or your productivity falls down, and so on and so forth. So the way, obviously, to have a better hybrid cloud strategy, you need to start thinking about how do I really make it easy for my IT staff to manage and control. Obviously, cost is one big factor into choosing a hybrid cloud strategy, but also, you need to start looking at how do I really make it easier for my IT staff to manage it better, as well as providing the best user experience I can. Customers who have deployed a very strong hybrid strategy with more centralized approaches, they have managed to reduce the attack surfaces. They have managed to resolve the issues faster because they only have single solutions and so on and so forth. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let's a little bit talk about some of the wins in the industry, right? Turner Industries is one of the manufacturing firms in the U.S. That provides turnkey industrial services and solutions to the companies that produce fuel, energy, and the materials, which is essentials to modern life. And they, as part of that, is one of the company that is responsible for a lot of critical infrastructure that is run by the manufacturing companies. Now, they obviously, because they service so many companies, our manufacturing companies, they really cannot afford downtime of their applications. But they also don't want to manage multiple solutions. So what they have done is they have centralized some of those products or solutions which can go across the cloud without having to manage 6, 7 products. They're managing one. And as a result, they have managed to really really manage the solution better, but also avoided any downtimes that would have affected their revenues and as well as the customer experience. And this is one example of a manufacturing company that has really kind of provided that solution. Another example about Hawkins, they are obviously one of the other manufacturing companies, and they have more than 500 industrial chemicals and 600 grade lab chemicals. They provide a lot of these solutions or chemicals to their manufacturing clients. They chose a solution from A10 as a load balancer platform because of their impressive interface that is easy to kind of manage the solution. It's the UI is better than other competitors, as well as is easy to understand. They were running some competitor solutions and they had to replace. As A10 provides the first-in-class customer service and response for any issues that they have. So let me talk a little bit about the solutions. Now we have heard from the customers. We heard about, hey, what are some of the challenges that customers have in the hybrid environment? Let's talk about how a solution should look like. A lot of the customers that I spoke to about, what they have done is they have simplified their infrastructure, first of all, with a good, strong hybrid strategy. That means that they don't really want to have solutions that are specific to each cloud. They are looking at solutions that are centralized and can be managed easily. That allows them to not only manage and set up the policies and the infrastructure for this, they can now provide a very consistent user experience with one single solution, as opposed to having multiple solutions and the experience varies. And this allows them a centralized solution, allows them to centrally not only manage the products, but also set up the policies for traffic routing, set up the policies for how they want to redirect the traffic, look at the insights. They can now monitor all the traffic coming in through their single solution through one single pane of glass. They get alerts and events in one place. They can get all the security metrics and the health metrics in one place. So it makes it very, very easy for them or for customers to manage one solution as opposed to having to manage multiple solutions. And the solutions, you should think about, if they are being centralized, you should be able to run them on your on-prem, either on a hypervisor. You should be able to run them on any public cloud. So look for vendors that can provide those solutions that can integrate and run in your existing infrastructure. One of the other things that we have heard from customers, a lot of customers are now have implemented all these DevOps tools because obviously, as they are using a lot of their applications for online business. They are using a lot of applications for CRM applications for their customers, and they do develop these applications on the go, right? All these DevOps and cloud native tools. So as you're looking at some of the solutions, make sure that they integrate with your DevOps. If you're using Console from HashiCorp or Kubernetes, there are solutions that if you have to, spin up new servers for running new applications or add additional instances of applications, it should spawn the ADC or the load balancer to automatically load balance the new applications instances. And that allows you to turn around faster. It automates a lot of the manual steps that an admin has to do otherwise. And it readily integrates the new servers without having to go through a formal IT process that may take weeks sometimes. If you are using on the network operations side, I know a lot of you are from the networking background. If you are using provisioning engines in AWS or Ansible or Terraform, make sure the solutions that you select do integrate with these, and you should be able to spin up the instances of the new solutions using any of the provisioning engines that you have already in place. And obviously, the monitoring piece becomes very important. If you have any of the solutions that are listed here or otherwise, make sure the solutions can integrate their logs or any monitoring capability within your existing solutions. So that will allow you to really consolidate and not having to learn new skills, and it'll be easier on your teams to manage these new solutions. Similarly, a lot of times we hear from customers as they have the hybrid cloud strategy of having to move workloads from one cloud to another, depending on whatever needs that they might have. They are stuck with vendors who do not offer licensing that they can port along with the new workloads. So look for vendors that really allow licensing to be flexible. So if you have to move from AWS to Azure, for example, you don't have to purchase the solution all over again, and you can, take your existing license and port it over to, let's say, Azure, right? That will allow a lot of flexibility to you. That will allow you to reduce a lot of your cost, and make your operations much more easier. So with flexible allocation, you can really share the capacity across multiple instances, whether they are on the cloud, whether they're on premises, and so on and so forth. And you can see, you can set up policies based on, for example, time of the day for one location, right? Where the capacity can go higher. Let's say if you have operations overseas, in Europe, your capacity there increases, let's say during their daytime, and you can shift the capacities from your location to their location and vice versa, depending on the requirements. So all those things can be done. So look for solutions that allow you that flexibility to do that. So before we get into next section, there is another poll. So this is more about your hybrid cloud. If you can answer that, that'll be awesome. Awesome. I think we received 5 responses so far. If some of the other people can quickly just answer, that'll be awesome. All right, 2 more seconds. All right, thank you so much for your response, guys. Let me just share the results. So most of you mentioned that you don't have a centralized location for managing your solution in a hybrid cloud environment. And I think that's something very familiar with a lot of our customers, what kind of problems they face. And I'm hoping that you will agree with the challenges that I spoke about. So definitely look for solutions that really kind of can be managed from a central location, that not only allows you to simplify your IT, but also it helps you really improve the user experience as well as provide better security for your policies. Let me cover some of the security concerns that we have heard from customers in the next section. So from moving on from just the application availability piece that we talked about, how you can really provide a better service to your end users with centralized solutions. Let me just talk about how do we really now protect those applications from any application level threats. I don't know if you have heard about web application firewall. Now, obviously, I'm assuming you have some sort of firewall in your organization. Web application firewall is different from a network firewall, basically, right? As you would know, that web application firewall primarily looks at the application layer, as opposed to the network firewall that is primarily layer 1 to layer 3. Now, it basically addresses your web applications, and I'm assuming a lot of you would have web applications internally or externally deployed to either market your products or do online business, or internally capture the orders from your customers and process those orders. Most of these web applications are web-based. That means it's accessed by a browser, it's an HTTP, HTTPS. However, there are a lot of attacks that are looking to steal data, that are looking to get unauthorized access into your applications to obviously disrupt your business, And second, obviously, to gain money by hijacking some of the data and selling that in the dark web. Right. So why do you need a web application firewall? One is obviously to protect against your application level threats, such as cross-site scripting, SQL injection, and so on and so forth, that can be easily launched against your web apps. Second is compliance. If you are a manufacturing industry, you obviously deal with a lot of customer data, a lot of sensitive data. And for SOX or even for PCI, you are required to have a web application firewall in front of your web applications. And that is the need that a lot of our customers have deployed is to meet those compliance requirements. While you look at deploying web application firewall, I will go back to the consolidation story that we talked about, right? There are obviously standalone application firewalls that are available in the market today. Now, if you have deployed an ADC or a load balancer, there are vendors who provide an option to deploy a web application firewall on top of your ADC appliance. And that really helps you not only provide a layered defense, where you can add on a web application firewall to your existing ADC appliance, and it really helps against mitigating those web application attack that I talked about. But also it provides simplification. It is, you don't need to have a separate web application firewall appliance separately to your ADC. It can sit on top of the ADC. It can monitor all the application traffic that is going through an ADC and insert the policies or the security policies right at the ADC node. Right. So it obviously is easy to use. It allows simplification, but it's also provide better security because you're not adding the traffic to go another hop if the traffic is malicious. You're stopping at that point of the ADC itself. So look at some of those architectures where you can reuse your existing infrastructure to deploy these solutions rather having to spin up new appliances, obviously, which can be costly. The second big threat I also want to talk about is the DDoS piece. Now, this is one of the single largest security threats that we have seen in the industry, right? There has been an big increase in the number of DDoS attacks that we have seen against customers of any vertical. Not only manufacturing, but all the verticals face this problem where some of these attacks bring down your infrastructure, takes away the ability to do business, affects your brand value, and so on and so forth. Now you will say, yeah, a lot of these DDoS attacks, do you really require a lot of skills and a lot of different tools to launch these attacks? What makes it, these attacks so rampant is they are very easy to launch. Now you may need some tools, but you can get those tools at a very low cost. So it's a very low cost to entry. There are a lot of bots running. There are a lot of IoT devices that can be reused to launch some of these attacks. So a lot of times hackers or people with malicious intent compromise these devices to become a part of the whole volumetric DDoS attack. And these attacks can be launched using a lot of these devices that are sitting insecure in a lot of your location, a lot of other locations. And it becomes very easy to launch some of the attacks with the footprint that is available to the hackers. Not only that, if the DDoS attacks do become a success, or they're successfully able to launch these attacks, there is obviously a cost to the customers. And these customers, I'm only showing the data for small to medium businesses, and it escalates very fast if it's an enterprise customer of a larger size. And some of you may have large size, may be working for a company which is large in size, right? So this can be a very effective attack for people with malicious intent to bring down your business, especially where if you are managing or if you're supporting any critical infrastructure for your organization or for the country as well. Now, the protection for DDoS does require a lot of machine learning and intelligence. It is very hard because of the volumetric nature, because of the frequency of these attacks. It becomes sometimes very hard for a human to really now go and identify these attacks and set up the policies to mitigate the attack. It does require a lot of intelligence. It does require a lot of machine learning that can continuously look for anomalies and automate the policies to mitigate some of these threats that might be coming in. One of the things that you should look for vendors who are providing protection against attacks like DDoS is the ability to provide threat intelligence proactively into to you or into your systems, where a lot of these threat intelligence engines can detect any malicious in endpoints, any abnormalities or any malicious traffic that they see and gather intelligence from. And they can proactively set up policies to block list some of these IP addresses that malicious traffic might be coming from before they even launch an attack. So proactively look for some of these solutions that integrates with your DDoS attacks and can really implement the policies proactively before the attack even happens. Not only it allows you to stay on top of the threats, but obviously it strengthens your DDoS services. And these attack engines can be obviously vendor specific, but you should also look at what other third-party solutions or intelligence can be included as in addition to that vendor. So they are obviously complementary to DDoS. They provide a very good, full, comprehensive picture of the insights into these attacks, and then obviously proactively block lists and blacklist, some of the IP addresses that may be sending you the malicious traffic. So just actionable, how to really make this thing actionable. It should be integrated with your DDoS service. And then obviously it should provide IP addresses or blacklist or block lists from the vendor itself, or there are other third-party vendors that provides these services like Webroot or ThreatStop and so on and so forth. So a lot of our customers have multiple threat intelligence engines feeding data into your security solutions to proactively do some of these things. I think one of the things that I also just quickly want to touch on is about this automated protection, right? Where a lot of the machine learning techniques are used to not only understand the abnormalities or anomalies in the traffic, but also knowing what policies to trigger as they see different malicious traffic, right? So and make sure as you are implementing some of these solutions, a lot of the DDoS attacks can be small, as I showed you in the statistic before. A lot of the DDoS attacks, majority of the DDoS attacks are small. But then if you are hit by a large volumetric attack, you need to make sure that your DDoS protection solutions can be scalable or can handle large amounts of malicious traffic. One way to really get beaten by the volumetric attacks is if your solutions are not scalable, they will not be able to really help you against a volumetric DDoS that can come from multiple vectors and multiple locations. So make sure that vendors that you choose can handle large volumetric attacks, obviously in addition to the small scale attacks. All right, so moving on to the next for a quick poll. All right, 10 more seconds. All right, I'm gonna end the poll and I'm gonna share the results. Some of you have, I think, one web application firewall. Most of you still, I think, are maybe primarily looking at implementing web application firewall in front of your web applications. Most everybody answered yes, protecting infrastructure is a critical to your IT strategy. One way I will suggest is do look at web application firewall solutions as you look at your, application security landscape. And then for customers who are doing some protection, it's not addressing your needs today. So look for solutions that can offer you a whole, protection against a whole bunch of attacks. Look at how you can really consolidate, simplify for your admins, because once it is simple, it's much more secure than a complex solution, right? So make sure that you go for simplification as one of your requirements, and the solution can integrate with your existing infrastructure. All right, so I'm gonna just quickly summarize the conversation that we have had so far. I think we talked about obviously simplifying the management of your application performance, application availability solutions. And then we went into protecting those applications from application layer attacks by implementing a web application firewall or any DDoS threat intelligence or protection in front of those applications. So a quick kind of summary on A10. While I think you heard about from us, we do help customers make their applications available, as well as protect them against all these application layer attacks, dramatically increasing the performance of their applications. And then obviously with the convergence and the consolidation that we offer, we allow them to save substantially on OpEx and CapEx value. Obviously consistently rated as superior in features against the competitors that we have. So if you're looking at alternative solutions, do look at us. With that, I'm gonna be just quickly opening up the session for any questions that anybody may have to answer.
Thanks, Akhilesh.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have any questions here. So you were talking about your ADC solution. Do you also have a web app firewall, or did they have to have that as a separate tool?
Yeah, so A10 obviously has an ADC solution, as you rightly mentioned, which allows performance improvement and availability for your applications, also securing your applications. We do have a web application firewall that you can really deploy on the ADC appliance itself, and that can protect your applications from any application layer attacks. Certainly the OWASP top 10 attacks that are obviously mentioned in the public repository. So take a look at that. Any questions, we can help answer those.
Okay, thank you. So just for those on the line, if you want to ask any additional questions, please type them in the Q&A box, and we'll have Akhilesh answer those questions. One of the things you were talking about was the DDoS attack protection. It is now many companies have other solutions that they're using. Do you work in conjunction with them, or is your DDoS protection something that is that will eliminate the need for other tools? How do they work together?
Yeah, so our DDoS, we do offer a DDoS protection solution And it does integrate with obviously multitude of platforms. You can deploy it on the public cloud, you can deploy it on-prem. And as I was showing earlier, right, you can um, integrate with your existing DevOps or NetOps solutions. In addition to DDoS, what makes it really important and differentiated for us is our ability to provide threat intelligence on top of the DDoS protection. So if you're looking at any DDoS protection, I would highly encourage for you to look at vendors who not only offer DDoS protection, but a full threat intelligence on top of the DDoS protection.
Great, thank you. So this is an innovative solution that you're talking about. How difficult is it for somebody to sort of migrate off of what they're on now to your solution?
Yeah, I think it's pretty seamless. We have obviously our support teams who help customers migrate from existing incumbent solutions that you may have either on your ADC or your DDoS or WAF. And we have good, solid customer stories that we can talk about where customers have easily migrated. And it's not only the migration piece, but even the post-migration where they have seen an uptake in terms of the performance, in terms of the availability, and most importantly, the kind of support that A10 provides for all their solutions. I think support is one area I would put up my hat on is providing the best support for our customers in case something bad happens.
Okay, thank you. One of the other things you mentioned earlier was flexible licensing. Explain that to me a little bit more about how that's going to benefit somebody if you have this flexible licensing approach.
Yeah, I think if you think about the scenario, right, where let's say, for example, I'll take a hypothetical example, right? Let's say you have your workloads you're putting on Azure, and you have purchased a load balancer either from Azure or from any other third-party vendor. Now, as you are now, working on Azure, there are scenarios where now, based on regional requirements or based on your application requirements, you may have to move workloads in multiple clouds. So which is AWS, let's say, for example, or GCP or Oracle, whichever one you may have. You will then have to purchase another load balancer from either the same vendor or from the cloud service provider itself. That's obviously an additional cost, additional learning, additional skills that you will need. With the flexible licensing, you can port from A10 perspective at least, you can port the license from your Azure load balancer and put that on AWS. So then you don't necessarily have to purchase a second load balancer, and you can really divide the capacities between the two instances now. So for example, if you have a 20 gig license on AWS, or sorry, on Azure, and you want to put a second instance of that application on AWS, you can divide the license into two and not necessarily have to purchase all of it again. So that kind of multiplies as your application needs multiply, as your clouds multiply, as your instances multiply. And then you are in a situation where you are really paying through your nose for all those different scenarios. So look for the solution which really offers you that flexibility.
Yeah, so just another minute to see if we have any more questions. I don't see any additional questions, Akila. So thank you very much for your presentation today. I want to thank A10 Networks for sponsoring and leading today's webinar. To everyone online, thank you for joining us. As a reminder, you'll receive a pop-up to complete an evaluation when you exit Zoom. If you would like to receive CPE credits for this webinar, you must participate. We appreciate your feedback on that survey as well. Thank you again for your time today, and we hope your team can join us for one of our future events. We have an AI and Operations Conference happening on October 16th in Chicago, and a full lineup of webinars and council meetings for our various members taking place this fall. So again, Akhilesh and Eitan, thank you very much, and thank everyone for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.